This fantasy adventure masterpiece is a must-see. It's adapted from the novel 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. The film vividly portrays the underwater world. It takes human imagination of the deep sea to a new level. No more talking. The story begins in the 19th century. An ancient legend says killing a seagull brings disaster. The curly-haired captain, on his first voyage, didn't believe it. He aimed his gun at a soaring seagull. The next moment, the hull was violently struck. A sailor climbed the mast. Something seemed to be swimming below the surface. The captain became excited. He ordered the ship to turn and catch the giant creature. As it neared, they saw the monster's size surpassed imagination. With one touch, the ship's bottom was sliced in two. The wealthy young lady planned to reunite with her fiancé in Mumbai. Instead, she met this disaster. Her nimble butler helped her overcome many dangers. After a life and death struggle, everyone got into a lifeboat. They still watched in fear as the merchant ship slowly sank. Then, a gigantic armored beast floated to the surface. The thing that destroyed the ship was not a sea monster. It was a submarine. To everyone's disbelief, a man opened the hatch and stepped out. It was Captain Nemo of the Nautilus. Just 8 hours earlier, he was a hard-working engineer. The East India Company conscripted him to secretly build a submarine. He had planned to escape with his best friend in a few days, but company officials ordered the chief designer to take the ship to Mumbai. They would install weapons there. His best friend had to act early. He easily subdued the guards in the cockpit. Nemo immediately broadcasted. He called all prisoners to rise up and resist. The escape initially went smoothly, but a prisoner accidentally discharged a gun. This immediately alerted soldiers at port. Escaping was no longer easy for Nemo. He had to cut all mooring rope holding the ship to shore. Guards above had set up machine guns. Under heavy gunfire, he couldn't raise his head. His best friend rushed out. He used a package hanging from the bridge as a shield, but it fell down quickly. In that critical moment, he risked his life. He rushed into the gunpowder magazine. Though hit by many bullets, he used the oil lamp in his hand. He ignited the powder magazine. In the towering flame, all the submarine's mooring lines were destroyed. Nemo suppressed his sorrow. He ran into the control room and started the engine with a booming sound. The legendary Nautilus dived for the first time. Nemo designed the ship's propulsion system. It operated quite smoothly, carefully passing through an underwater cave. The Nautilus entered the vast ocean. The excited prisoners looked at the beautiful scenery. From now on, they could roam the open sea, free as birds. Nemo thought of his friend who had just died. He couldn't just shoot the East India Company official. The chief designer immediately stopped him. Doing so would lose their chance to confront the enemy. He saw the logic. He steered the ship forward. As it dived, it hit something. He looked through the periscope. It was an East India Company merchant ship. Nemo thought they were pursuing him. He activated his iron ram, his only weapon, and charged only after the merchant ship was destroyed did he realize his mistake. He let women and children board the submarine. He also sent the company officials to the lifeboats. Those people were left to drift at sea. At the same time, East India Company headquarters received secret intelligence. They learned the expensive submarine had been stolen. The person in charge ordered them to find the Nautilus at all costs. Meanwhile, the wealthy young lady, Lena, entered the submarine. Her father was a famous engineer. From a young age, she was passionate about all kinds of machinery. She saw the submarine, which existed only in theory. Lena's mouth gaped wide open. The chief designer brought bad news. The recent collision damaged the submarine. He advised going to a French port for repairs. They also needed provisions. Nemo agreed. After repairs, he would sail to the North Sea. Legend says a centuries-old treasure lies at the bottom of that sea. After this, he would give the Nautilus to the chief designer. The chief designer exclaimed, "This is the most precious treasure." Only Nemo reacted fastest. The Nautilus was rapidly sinking. Its turbine was damaged in the collision. Without power, they couldn't pump water out to surface. Everyone would eventually be crushed by the deep sea's pressure. Lena suddenly said she had a way. Nemo turned. "If you have a way, speak quickly," he said. Meanwhile, the curly-haired captain and the white-bearded official drifted at sea. They finally saw hope of survival. An East India Company merchant ship rescued them. They returned to headquarters. Both swore they would chop Nemo into pieces. Fortunately, the company hadn't put all its eggs in one basket over the years. While building the Nautilus, they also prepared another steel beast. It was the warship Dreadnought, called the Lord of the Ocean. Under the white-bearded official's furious urging, this steel monster launched in 2 days. He also appointed Captain Dungvas as the new warship commander. But neither knew the Nautilus, with its broken turbine, had sunk 500 meters deep. Lena devised a risky method: pump air from the compartment into the ballast tank. This would help the ship surface. This was a life or death gamble. Losing air, the sailors quickly struggled to breathe. They improvised a temporary pressurization device. Everyone pumped air. Finally, the ship surfaced. Sailors hastily climbed out. They took deep gulps of air. Looking around, they saw an island nearby. Lena's eyes lit up. She immediately led her group to jump off the submarine. 2 2 other Indian sailors also wanted to escape. Nemo and the others could only watch. Should they shoot them? Lena and her group were halfway through their swim. Then, a group of fierce soldiers rushed out from the island. They didn't seem to be there to rescue anyone. They panicked and turned back. They swam back to the submarine. Just then, the soldiers were chasing them in fishing boats. The chief engineer wrung his hands in anxiety. The Nautilus's turbine was still not repaired. They had no escape. Lena returned to the ship. She ran to the engine room and pulled a steel wire from the circuit. She had secretly sabotaged the ship to aid her escape. Nemo couldn't scold her. Soldiers were already on the hull before Raster could get inside. At that critical moment, the bearded man grabbed the gun barrel. This helped them close the hatch. The ship immediately dived. They again escaped the East India Company's pursuit. But Captain Nemo realized a serious problem. He gathered everyone in the command room. He emphasized they had all stolen the company's most valuable asset. Now, they all shared the same fate. Only by uniting would they survive. Otherwise, none would escape their cruel punishment. Nemo also warned Lena. If she sabotaged the ship again, he would throw her overboard. At this time, the headquarters steel warship Reynolds left Mumbai port. Lena's fiancé was also with them. He thought she was kidnapped by criminals. He didn't know she had long forgotten him. She, however, was fascinated by the submarine. From the engineer, she learned the Nautilus could decompose the seawater for endless power. Theoretically, it could run forever without fuel. The chief engineer originally designed the ship to explore the ocean, but the East India Company changed it. They wanted to turn it into a weapon of war. That was why he escaped with Nemo. Just then, they spotted a whaling ship. It was using bait to catch a gigantic mother whale. The sailors wanted to help, but Nemo didn't want to interfere. A female sailor spoke up. "That's a mother protecting her child," she said. Those words reminded Nemo of his daughter. He immediately ordered the ship to surface. The whaling ship prepared to tighten the rope and kill the whale. He jumped onto its back and cut the rope. Nemo fell into the sea with the giant beast. The crew thought the captain had died. They painfully looked down at the sea, but the next moment, he surfaced and climbed back onto the ship. But the whale surfaced as if thanking them, but the baby whale was still with the fishermen. They wouldn't release it willingly, not wanting more trouble. Nemo took off Lena's golden bracelet. He threw it over. The fisherman weighed it, saw its value, and released the baby whale. She was very unhappy. That bracelet was a memento from her father. Hearing this, Nemo felt regretful. He promised to compensate her later. After that, the crew acknowledged the captain's talent and character, but the danger was not over. Through the periscope, they spotted the Greenock battleship. As everyone panicked, Nemo calmed them. He promised to lead them to escape and find the treasure at the bottom of the sea. Now they just needed to move the ship as far as possible, but Greenock had advanced sonar equipment. Even with Nautilus's engine off and everyone holding their breath, a few barks from the dog in the compartment were enough to reveal their position. The white-bearded official immediately ordered depth charges, completely ignoring Lena's fiancé's protests. Immediately, the entire crew sprang into action. As each shell fell into the sea, the Nautilus began to shake violently. Nemo repeatedly ordered to decrease depth, but the Greenock battleship also had skilled experts. They could use the sound of the explosions to judge if the target was hit. With each command, the bomb's detonation depth gradually decreased. At this point, Nautilus had no retreat. They had already dived to the seabed. Whether they could escape this disaster now depended on fate. Fortunately, the last bomb exploded less than 10 meters away. The crew had a narrow escape. Everyone breathed a sigh of relief. But just as they opened the observation hatch, a giant tentacle appeared right for them. Unexpectedly, a giant octopus was outside, tightly wrapped around the submarine. The tentacle squeezed hard, making the entire hull creak. Captain Nemo knew he couldn't delay. He put on his diving suit and quickly swam out. Seeing the octopus many times larger than the submarine, he couldn't help but tremble with fear. But he gritted his teeth and climbed onto the ship's roof. Just as he was about to shoot, a tentacle immediately knocked him away. The sea monster squeezed Nautilus harder, plunging everyone into despair. Just then, Nemo struggled to stand, only to see another tentacle sweep towards him. At that dangerous moment, the mother whale he had saved earlier suddenly appeared. She firmly bit the octopus's tentacle. The two monsters struggled fiercely. Finally, the whale tore off a tentacle. The sea monster, in pain, released its grip and fled. The crew breathed a sigh of relief, watching the mother whale and her calf swim alongside the submarine. Even Nemo exclaimed that all creatures truly have a spirit, although the monster crisis was resolved. Don't forget the Drainos battleship was still lurking on the surface. Although the earlier underwater battle had confused their judgment, if Nautilus started its engine, the battleship would definitely detect it first. Nemo thought of a plan. The armory still had many torpedoes without explosives. He fired them from the launcher. The loud sound successfully lured Drainos away. Nautilus took the opportunity to retreat in the opposite direction. After escaping danger, the dog suddenly remembered something. It tugged Lena's shirt and ran to a compartment, where they found an East India Company soldier hiding. This guy was unlucky. When Nemo exposed everything, he fainted, so everyone forgot about him. Seeing he wasn't a good person, Nemo decided to keep him until they reached shore. Currently, the biggest problem was a shortage of supplies, but at that time, the empire where the sun never sets had East India Company troops stationed in most ports. Nemo pointed to an Indonesian port on the map, one of the few places not under his control. By the captain's order, Nautilus accelerated at full speed and headed straight there. Upon arrival, they stopped the submarine in deep water. Then they took a small boat into port. Everyone thought they arrived stealthily, but the Indonesian governor was already waiting. It turned out he had long known about Nautilus's arrival, and following the principle that an enemy of an enemy is a friend, he was willing to provide free supplies to Nemo. Not only that, but he also knew Nemo's father. He invited everyone to his mansion to rest, as preparing supplies would take time. The captain took the opportunity to escort the East India soldier ashore. The governor showed disgust and immediately ordered him imprisoned. Then he called Nemo into the living room, took out a photo with his father, and said the East India Company had seized a large tract of land that should have belonged to Nemo. The heir, the governor, also disliked his brother, so he proposed an alliance for mutual support. Nemo stood stunned. He had never heard his father mention this. After thinking, he secretly returned to the room. Unexpectedly, at that moment he saw a telegram. The governor was secretly contacting the East India Company. There was no need for pretense. They had offered a 10,000-pound bounty for Nemo's capture. No one could refuse that amount. Nemo was then imprisoned, while the company soldier was released by the governor. Meanwhile, Lena accidentally discovered a group of children forced to mine coal in the basement. Knowing they were forced to work daily, she unilaterally led the children to the outdoor dining table. This stunned the nearby militiamen. They were all their children. The governor discovered this and became furious. He believed slaves didn't deserve good food. He ordered the militiamen to execute them on the spot. Sailor Ali couldn't bear it anymore, called on everyone to resist. No one was born a slave. Seeing the unfavorable situation, the governor immediately called his own troops. The two sides quickly engaged in fierce battle. At this time, Dr. Gustav was completely unaware of the chaos outside. In the library, he accidentally discovered notes about Atlantis. The doctor was so excited he almost cried. It was the sacred place every explorer dreamed of. He didn't hesitate to put the book in his bag. He planned to take it back to Nautilus for further study. Meanwhile, Nemo was in prison when he suddenly saw Lena enter. She held the key to his cell. It turned out the soldier released earlier had found her. He gave her the prison key he had stolen. Soon after, the melee outside ended with the militia's victory. Sailor Ali accompanied them. As he was about to attack the governor's mansion, he accidentally saw the soldier sending a telegram to the East India Company. It turned out he wanted to gain Nemo's trust to infiltrate Nautilus. Unfortunately, Ali discovered this too late. By then, the captain had led the crew back to the port, but due to the extreme chaos, the painstakingly collected supplies were almost completely destroyed. Before anyone could feel sad, they saw the Greenodd battleship approaching from afar. They prepared to board the ship, but realized Ali hadn't returned. The person they needed wasn't there yet. The governor was forced back into the living room by the militiamen. Unexpectedly, there was a secret passage there. Seeing Ali was not completely dead as he prepared to escape, he conveniently pulled Ali inside too. Captain Nemo couldn't care about Ali anymore. The Greenodd battleship had blocked them right at the port. Not only that, a glass compartment with a cannon barrel protruded from beneath the giant ship. With a sky-shattering boom, the shell grazed past, missing the submarine by a hair's breadth. Dr. Gustav realized it was just a warning shot. The next volley would definitely hit the target. Nemo, of course, couldn't sit and wait to die. He ordered the crew to start the engine. Then, using the mud and silt to obscure their vision, the captain charged straight for the Greenodd battleship's glass compartment. The soldiers inside were terrified. They could only watch him pull out an iron axe and violently smash the glass, but the strong impact also knocked Nemo to the seabed. Luckily, the crew wore diving suits. They rescued the captain in time. Thanks to his bravery, he once again helped everyone overcome danger. Meanwhile, the Indonesian port governor had led crew member Ali onto the Greenodd battleship. When he learned Nautilus had escaped again, the white-bearded official, in anger, swung his blade and killed the governor on the spot. Conversely, the unconscious Ali still had some exploitable value, so he temporarily spared Ali's life. The Nautilus crew learned from experience. This time, they intentionally sought a deserted island to gather supplies. Seeing every tree laden with fruit, everyone couldn't help but cheer with joy. But the dog accompanying them accidentally inhaled pollen from a tree. This signaled a new danger approaching the ship. Blaster, being playful, thought a black crab was a rock and picked it up. This careless act led its mother to seek revenge. Faced with claws larger than his arm, the boy was so scared he kept backing away. He accidentally bumped into a rope hanging on a tree. Only then did everyone discover dried skeletons hanging from the tree trunk. It seemed this island was not deserted. Nemo was about to retreat when he accidentally triggered a mechanism. All three were immediately caught by a falling net. At the same time, an alarm sounded from afar. It turned out there was a group of shipwrecked soldiers on the island. They had just drawn lots to choose a comrade as a sacrifice to a monster for fresh water. Hearing the alarm, the leader's eyes lit up. He cut his comrades' ropes, saying outsiders were on the island. They could use them as replacement sacrifices, just as the aggressive soldiers charged towards the trap. Nemo and the other two were unexpectedly rescued. The one who helped them was Annie, a girl living on the island. She signaled them to follow her quickly. As they climbed the cliff, they saw soldiers checking the trap. Annie led everyone through a tree hollow. Nemo slipped, accidentally finding a soldier directly below him. He signaled everyone not to move. Then a flower spider crawled nearby. Lena quickly grabbed it and threw it down through the tree hollow. The spider landed right on the soldier's head. Everyone seized the chance to continue along the tree hollow. They quickly reached Annie's dwelling. Surprisingly, she not only grew fresh vegetables, but also had homemade equipment to filter fresh water. Nemo was delighted. Wasn't this exactly the talent Nautilus needed? He immediately invited her to leave the island with him. But before Annie could answer, another incident occurred. Blaster encountered a venomous snake while walking. He fell from a tree in fright. He then stumbled upon the searching soldiers. Luckily, he did not expose his teammates. He claimed he shipwrecked and drifted to the island. The soldiers were somewhat disappointed. Still, a person was better than nothing. They decided to take Blaster as a sacrifice. They brought the boy to the lakeshore again. They pushed him into the water. Then they blew a loud horn. While they nervously awaited the monster, Nemo and Lena quickly arrived. The soldiers had been stranded on the island for years. Seeing women made them almost drool. She immediately played her role. She perfectly acted as an innocent lady in distress. Annie seized the chance. She climbed a large tree by the lake. She used a rope to pull Blaster up and save him. When the soldiers realized everything was ruined, Nemo revealed himself. Both sides entered a brief standoff. Suddenly, countless air bubbles surfaced. The soldiers immediately knelt down. The legendary monster finally appeared. He also imitated them. He told Lena to quickly kneel. The leader knew they had offered many good things to the monster. He wanted to trade these two outsiders for fresh water. The monster swallowed him whole in one gulp. Just then, a homemade mine rolled over. Annie had arrived to help. The flash of fire enraged the monster. It charged directly towards Nemo's group. Everyone panicked and ran for their lives. They barely hid behind a rock. The new soldiers' arrival temporarily diverted the monster's attention. The captain and the others ran back to shore. As they boarded the submarine, the monster's head emerged from the forest. They realized it was a giant eel when they saw it clearly. It charged into the sea. The crew panicked and hid inside the ship. Annie hesitated for half a beat. That was enough for it to swallow her whole instantly. But the story did not end there. Everyone was horrified. The Nautilus lost control. The giant sea monster wrapped itself around the ship. Its body emitted purple electric light. It turned out this monster was an electric eel. Facing such a terrifying deep-sea creature, how would Nemo and the crew overcome this situation? Seeing the monster's furious eyes outside the window, everyone felt a chill. Captain Nemo quickly cut the submarine's power. He feared damaging the electronic components, but passively waiting was not an option. He decided to wear a diving suit. He would go outside to drive off the electric eel, but the hatch was jammed shut by the creature. Lena, skilled in mechanics and physics, had an idea. They could use coils connected to the hull. Reverse voltage might force the eel to leave. This method was very dangerous, but they had no other choice. Everyone worked together to connect the circuit. As the current started, electric sparks became visible. To the monster, the electricity was just a sting. Instead, those in the compartment were electrocuted and fell. Despair spread throughout the ship. The stressed crew began blaming each other. Everyone looked furious. Just then, someone reminded them. The sea monster was still lurking outside. Dr. Gustav angrily returned to his room. Avery Hanley, while researching ship documents, he saw the soldier huddled in a corner. Black veins appeared on his face. His whole body stiffened, as if by a virus. Earlier, when the group visited the deserted island, the dog inhaled strange pollen. The pollen was carried back to the ship and slowly spread. The soldier had meant to secretly find technical documents. He unexpectedly became the first victim. Meanwhile, Nemo and Lena prepared for a second electric shock. It failed again, perhaps from stress and despair. Both began to hallucinate. Just then, the giant eel suddenly released the Nautilus. It left a scale stuck in the propeller. Seeing a red glow ahead, everyone realized with horror. The ship was falling into an underwater lava flow. The sea monster feared heat, not electricity. Nemo could not be happy. The ship was out of control due to the jammed propeller. Furthermore, the strange virus had spread throughout the compartment. Dr. Gustav became the second victim, rigid like a wooden statue. Others grew hazy, falling into hallucinations. The captain saw his deceased wife. His daughter handed him a Nautilus seashell. This was the origin of the ship's name. Fortunately, the crew member named Sam Cho noticed the abnormality. He was the least infected. He often went in and out out of cold storage. He accidentally realized low temperatures could inhibit the virus, so he pulled all crew members into cold storage. Only Lena retained some sanity, but she blamed herself for her previous wrong decision. Seeing the Nautilus plunge into an underwater volcano, Lena made a daring decision. She put on a heavy diving suit. She rushed outside the ship. The moment the door opened, scorching heat rushed in. She fastened her safety rope. She climbed towards the ship's stern. Lena wanted to remove the scale stuck in the propeller herself. While climbing, the virus flared up. She hallucinated about her deceased father. This was the greatest pain in her life. Luckily, the heat made Lena regain some clarity. She resolutely unfastened her safety rope. She sprang to the scale. She used all her might. She finally pulled it out. The Nautilus seized the chance to change direction. It avoided plunging into the sea of fire, but Lena no longer had her safety rope. She could not hold on to anything. She struggled for a few minutes. Then she was thrown from the ship's hull. She fell straight into the deep abyss. Luckily, the low temperature soon destroyed the virus and everyone. They realized the Nautilus had left the volcano area. Everyone rejoiced at their escape. Only Nemo discovered Lena was missing. Hearing Sam Cho recount everything, he immediately turned the ship back. He finally found Lena drifting in the deep sea. This was just before her oxygen ran out, but her heart had stopped beating. Dr. Gustav suddenly had an idea. He disassembled the equipment used to electrocute the eel earlier. He fashioned it into a simple pacemaker. He continuously stimulated it. Lena finally revived. This near-death experience made her realize she was no longer a kidnapped lady. She had become a part of the crew. Lena sighed and recounted. When she fell into the deep sea, she vaguely saw a human structure. It resembled a giant ship. The doctor trembled after hearing this. He confirmed it was the legendary ruins of Atlantis. Nemo smiled. He said the doctor probably still had the virus. Those ruins should be in the Atlantic Ocean. They were still in the Pacific, but Gustav insisted he was not mistaken. He took out an ancient map. He found it in the Indonesian library. Its description perfectly matched what Lena saw. The captain asked seriously, was it worth risking their lives just to explore a ruin? Was it worth risking their lives just to explore a ruin? Just Boros-lation. His whole life, he pursued the dream of finding the buried continent of Atlantis. Seeing Nemo still hesitate, he pulled him aside. He revealed he knew Nemo's purpose. It was not to find treasure. It was to get revenge on the East India Company. According to him, this ship, with its ahead of its time technology, should have a greater mission. Just complete the expedition. He would have no regret, even in death. Considering the doctor's companionship and dedication, Nemo finally agreed to the underwater adventure. The Nautilus returned to where Lena had fallen. Everyone put on diving suit. They left the ship's compartment one by one, seeing the shape of the ruins himself. Gustav immediately confirmed it was undoubtedly Atlantis. However, a chasm blocked the way ahead. He casually kicked a stone down. Below, green specks of light flashed from the abyss. They reflected a large stone bridge. Everyone was stunned by this miraculous sight. They quickly stepped onto the stone step at the bridge's end. They saw light shining from above. Gustav was the first to remove his oxygen mask. He found he could breathe normally. This place was unexpectedly a completely enclosed airspace. Everyone marveled at nature's wonder. The doctor confirmed this was only the city's outer area. The main part was surely in the deepest area. After a few steps, Lena saw many patterns carved on the rock wall. Everyone with her thought they were just frescoes, but after careful observation, Gustav realized they were sea creatures from millions of years ago, sea-back and fossilized organisms. Just then, the leading sailor suddenly screamed. With great difficulty, wrapped by a sea-back. With great difficulty, they cut it off. Everyone then realized the fossilized, bug-like patterns on the wall had come to life. Nemo knew something was wrong. He loudly yelled for them to retreat. Luckily, these creatures feared light. Everyone used that time to run to the previous entrance. The captain realized the doctor was not with them. He quickly told everyone to leave on their own. He had to go back to find him. He found a narrow swimming passage. He dug up a glowing stone from the mud before he could rejoice. Nemo arrived, unfortunately, during their retreat. The doctor accidentally got his leg wrapped by a sieback. Knowing escape was difficult, he placed the glowing stone into the captain's hand. In the next moment, the sieback pulled his entire body away on the other side. Lena and the others also faced danger. Her hand had accidentally been torn earlier. The fresh blood attracted 7 sharks. Everyone raised the electric guns. The doctor had invented them. They finally drove away the shark, but just then they saw Nemo's body swaying. While fleeing the bug's pursuit, his diving suit had torn. He barely escaped the ruin, but he was suffocated to the point of near death. The bearded crew member bravely rushed out. He quickly pulled the captain back to the submarine. Nemo was lucky to save his life. Sadly, Dr. Gustav could never return. The stone he left behind no longer glowed. Thinking of that kind and upright man, all the crew couldn't help but feel sorrow. He comforted everyone, saying Atlantis was perhaps the best resting place for the doctor. While arranging his belongings, he discovered an audio recording. It contained many of Gustav's experiences experiences and thoughts, even a conversation between him and Lena. It turned out the doctor had long known Nemo harbored deep hatred. He hoped the ocean's beauty could soothe Nemo's wounds. Nemo clenched the stone, sinking into silence. He understood the adventure ahead must continue, but Nemo's mindset had unconsciously changed. He became more like the other crew members. A few days later, the Nautilus finally reached the Arctic Ocean. Everyone had long considered it their home. Even the soldier pretending to surrender gradually forgot his initial mission. Nemo and Lena went to the surface to admire the view. After many life and death moments together, they had actually developed feelings for each other long ago. Neither had dared to say it, as Nemo hesitated whether to be more proactive. The warship Green North pursued them all the way here. It turned out they had enlisted a master. This man was not only enthusiastic and experienced in navigation, but also Nemo's former classmate. Following their tracks, he led the Green North the Arctic Ocean. The captain panicked. He ordered maximum speed to widen the gap. Just as the two sides were about to collide, Nemo suddenly ordered to dive fast, but he misjudged the ice layer's thickness. The ship crashed directly into the ice. On the other side, the Green North fared no better. Its massive hull was jammed in thick ice. It could neither advance nor retreat. In such a freezing environment, if they remained deadlocked, everyone would die. Nemo devised a compromise. He left the submarine under the guise of peace talks. He sought Captain Dunblatt to discuss. Rather than both sides being trapped to death, it was better to cooperate and escape together. The Nautilus needed the opponent's forge to repair its damaged engine. Once the equipment was restored, he could pull the Green North out of the ice. Captain Dunblatt agreed to this deal, but he added another condition. Lena's fiancée was on his ship. He wanted to reunite with his unseen wife. Nemo was reluctant, but didn't dare decide on his own. He finally gave Lena the choice. She fell into extreme hesitation. She and her fiancé had never met. This marriage was entirely arranged by Lena's mother. Even though her southern family were major shareholders of the East India Company, she felt utterly repulsed. Her experiences over the past few days had made Lena love the free, adventurous life and the brave, responsible captain before her. But to save everyone, the kind girl still agreed to the deal. Under Nemo's gaze, Lena, with her housekeeper and blaster, went to the Green North. Captain Dunblatt welcomed her return. Her fiancé exerted himself to show his supposedly noble, aristocratic demeanor. Lena just stared, wide-eyed. She repeatedly urged them to lend the forge quickly. Wide-eyed, otherwise everyone would freeze to death there. The white-bearded official was uneasy. He demanded chains connect the two ships. This was to prevent the Nautilus from fleeing after repairs. To ease the tense, sword-drawn atmosphere, Nemo suggested organizing a baseball game in the snow. Lena's fiancé also actively joined, intending to teach these prisoners a lesson. Unexpectedly, Nemo had hidden abilities. When he studied in England, he was the school's baseball team captain, so both sides were evenly matched, and conflicts repeatedly occurred. If Captain Dunblatt hadn't stopped them in time, someone from either side would have bled. A few days later, the Nautilus's engine was finally repaired. After witnessing the marvels of the underwater world, Lena was no longer the aristocratic lady she once was, especially from her fiancé's story. She learned her mother pushed this marriage to borrow money from the groom's family to save their family factory from bankruptcy. Lena didn't want to be a commodity in that transaction. She immediately decided to return to the Nautilus. Seeing her fiancé wanted to stop her, the housekeeper once again showed her shark capabilities, and so both successfully escaped the Green North. Seeing the woman he loved running towards him, Nemo's mouth curved almost to his ears. When the engine started, the Nautilus slowly backed up. Under the pull of the iron chain, the Green North also gradually broke free from the ice. Unexpectedly, the fiancé turned anger from shame. Despite Dunblatt's dissuasion, he insisted on ordering to fire at the Nautilus. However, due to incorrect operation, the cannonball did not explode, but Captain Nemo was also quite angered. He believed the Green North had broken trust first, so he had nothing to hold back. He swung a giant iron hammer. Amidst the dense barrage of bullets, he directly severed the chain connecting the two ships. The Nautilus immediately dove deep. It once again escaped the enemy's pursuit. Afterwards, the captain gave a dangerous order: continue directly north. This meant they would have to dive under the ice for 6 days. If oxygen ran out midway, everyone would suffocate to death. Nemo chose this risky option. Ostensibly, it was to avoid pursuit by the Green North, but many sailors knew he had ulterior motives. He wanted to quickly reach the North Sea to find the legendary treasure. The sailors, who were originally rebels following him, especially after seeing many shipwrecks buried in the ice along the way, became greedy. They teamed up to capture Nemo. They appointed Dafu as the Nautilus's new captain. His first order was to turn the ship back, returning the way they came. In fact, not only the sailors, even Lena felt Nemo had gone too far. She knew he had suffered much. He did everything to avenge himself against the East India Company, but if Nemo himself wasn't honest, how could he earn absolute absolute loyalty from the crew, as everyone discussed how to sell the ship, divide the money, and go home. Danger suddenly struck. The ship's compass suddenly stopped working. The dials spun wildly. Lena speculated the ship had entered the strong magnetic field of the Arctic. Dafu was completely helpless. He could only watch as the Nautilus sank to the seabed. Worse yet, the torpedo compartment at the ship's bottom was leaking water. No one understood where this damage came from. If the Green North had collided with them, they would have noticed it long ago. While they were still guessing, no one knew Captain Nemo had donned his diving suit. He swam outside to find the leak while confined in his cell. He had heard via radio about a series of ship malfunctions. He was extremely anxious. As soon as he untied himself, he met the bearded man coming for his shift and unexpectedly overpowered him, diving outside the hull to inspect the damage. Nemo saw a smooth cut edge. It didn't look like collision damage. Just then, a bug crawled out of the hole. He recoiled in panic. He almost fell off the ship into the abyss. It turned out the Nautilus was paused right on the edge of a cliff. He accidentally saw a pink glow below, back inside the ship. He stomped on the strange bug. He discovered its entire body was metal. Could this be the legendary steel-eating bug? As soon as he spoke, those repairing the hole saw countless small white bugs pour out. Among them was a giant one. Everyone panicked and immediately closed the compartment door. They guessed the large one was the queen of the swarm. If they continued to rampage, the entire ship could be eaten clean. Sure enough, not long after, the swarm of bugs chewed their way through the pipes. Moving inside, they were about to reach the engine. All eyes turned to Nemo. In previous crises, he was the one who led everyone to safety. He didn't blame them for the mutiny. Instead, he quickly modified a high-pressure steam spraying device. Then he led everyone to the torpedo compartment. Unexpectedly, temperatures of hundreds of degrees were completely ineffective against these worms. Nemo quickly realized that whenever the queen bug was attacked, countless baby worms immediately came to protect her. Dafu thought of a way: put the mother bug inside a torpedo and launch it. But the queen was extremely agile. They missed her many times. Suddenly, he had an idea. Its body still contained undigested metal, so he smashed the compass, took out the magnet, and finally attracted the queen bug with great difficulty. They crammed it into the torpedo tube. They deliberately waited a moment longer, so the baby worms would also crawl inside. Dafu immediately pressed the launch button. A resounding explosion marked the final resolution of the steel-eating bug calamity. Thanks to this incident, Nemo also realized every sailor on board was indispensable. Next, they had to steer the Nautilus out of the magnetic field. He remembered the pink glow from before. He surmised it was glowing marine organisms floating with the current, and those phosphorescent creatures were ship-eating plankton. The captain came up with a bold idea: let the Nautilus fall straight into the abyss. They would rely on the ocean current to pull the entire ship out of the magnetic field. The crew was stunned. The survival rate for this was extremely low. Nemo recalled Lena's advice. He finally revealed his past to the entire crew. The East India Company not only seized his father's company, but also cruelly murdered his wife and daughter. Nemo took the Nautilus only to find the legendary treasure. Only with enough money could he bring down the financial giant named East India. It turned out they all shared a common enemy. Each sailor, one by one, reintroduced themselves. They formally acknowledged Nemo as their captain. This time, everyone no longer opposed the risky order. Instead, they collectively moved to one side to tilt the ship's center of gravity. With the imbalanced weight, the Nautilus finally gave in and fell into the abyss. The result was just as Nemo predicted. When it reached the glowing algae belt, the ship stopped falling and was swiftly carried by the ocean current. The captain once again led them through danger. Leaving the Arctic, the crew enjoyed a rare, lavish dinner as they denounced the East India Company's crime. The watchtower guard rushed in. The Nautilus had entered strange waters, unmarked on maps. Seeing the rock crevices on the seabed, Nemo pondered. Suddenly, the fog ahead dispersed, revealing countless towering rock pillars. He felt immense joy. He immediately told Dafu to steer the rock past. Soon after, they entered a sea covered by a magnificent rock column. All the sailors gaped in astonishment. Nemo had read records of this place. He immediately ordered diving gear prepared. The treasure they sought was in this area. Rock pillars emerged from the water, guiding the Nautilus deeper. Soon, they saw the silhouette of a shipwreck. As expected, the treasure legend must be true. Everyone immediately donned diving suits and descended to the seabed. Through thick wreckage, an ancient ship with strange symbols appeared. He saw an armored skeleton sitting at the ship's bow. As he checked it, the head suddenly moved. A small fish crawled out of its throat. Everyone then realized the ship's treasure was gone. Only a corroded, deformed sword remained. Nemo did not give up. He searched everywhere. He was unaware that sailors behind him were disappearing. Then a dark figure rushed from the algae and quickly knocked him out. When Nemo regained consciousness, he found himself and the crew captured by strangely dressed people. They called themselves Freeja's protectors, tasked with guarding the treasure in this tomb. His heart sank sank. He nearly died before finding the treasure. He anxiously looked around and suddenly realized the seabed treasure wasn't stolen. The protectors took it for themselves. Seeing the items and patterns on their clothes, any item, if sold, was worth a fortune. Nemo's mind immediately became agile again. When the chief prepared to execute the group, he quickly made his case that treasure was originally plundered by pirates from other nations. Why is their taking it called preservation, while his taking it is called theft? Moreover, Nemo wasn't seeking the treasure for pleasure. He sought it to fight the brutal East India Company. He said this intentionally. He realized the chief wasn't an unreasonable, stubborn person. After Nemo's explanation, her attitude indeed changed. The sailors saw this and unanimously condemned the company's crime. Lena stepped forward. She said Captain Nemo was an upright man. He sought treasure only for justice for his family and people. The chief thought for a long time. She finally made her ruling. Though Nemo was a trustworthy captain, he could be spared death, but he absolutely could not leave if news of the treasure got out. Countless robbers would flock there. Nemo could not endure being confined there for life. He immediately ordered the sailors to counterattack. These men had all risked death many times. Though outnumbered, their morale was not inferior. They even managed to steal a few treasures. When the time was right, the sailors jumped into the sea to escape. During the fight, Nemo casually snatched the ruby from the chief's attire. He jumped into the sea but carelessly dropped it. He was about to dive for it when he saw a sailor about to drown. Between saving a life and retrieving the priceless ruby, he immediately chose to save the person. As the sailors returned to the submarine, they found the surrounding rock pillars starting to collapse. It turned out the chief activated her ancestor's ultimate technique. Gigantic stone spheres shot out. The rock pillars collapsed like dominoes. As the sea was about to be completely sealed, the captain used the Nautilus's advantage. He submerged most of the hull to avoid falling rocks. Just as the rock pillar ahead was about to collapse, they swiftly shot out. They once again escaped mortal danger, but no one could be happy, as all the treasures they barely stole were lost when they jumped into the sea. This trip was a waste. Without funding, how could they confront the East India Company? Nemo even considered selling the ship and parting ways, but the sailors were unwilling. Confronting the East India Company wasn't just for money, it was also for their oppressed compatriot. Then, an Indian man took out a book. Behind it was a diamond as large as a goose egg. Everyone was astonished. This one item could buy another Nautilus. Soon after, the East India Company's white-bearded official received a telegram. The Nautilus had entered London waters. He immediately dispatched troops to guard the port, but Nemo had actually arrived days ago. He knew he couldn't use force against the enemy, so he resorted to unconventional methods. He left messages to awaken the working class, telling them they weren't born to be trampled by the company. As strikes broke out, the company's stock price plummeted. Nemo knew the company had 3 major shareholders, so he divided his forces into 3 major shareholders. He disguised himself as a magnet. He lied that the diamond came from his mine. He tricked a major shareholder into giving up all his shares. 2 divers broke into the second shareholder's house. They stole all the share certificates. The last shareholder was Lena's fiancé. She used their marriage contract as an excuse. She easily got the share transfer agreement. Everything was prepared. Nemo awaited the best opportunity. At the East India Company's annual shareholder meeting, countless investors poured in to protest. They suffered heavy losses from plummeting stock prices. The old man hastily ordered their arrest, but everyone immediately presented their share certificates. They were also company shareholders. Lena's fiancé was about to say he and his associates still owned most shares, but his future fiancé dealt him a painful blow. Lena took out the signed share transfer agreement. She declared her allegiance to Nemo. Instantly, he became the largest shareholder. He immediately proposed a vote. The vote was to remove the white-bearded official as president. The official tried to forcefully order his bodyguards, but Dung Vot immediately declared his duty was to protect shareholders, and the president, Nemo, then reminded the soldiers those officials, for selfish interests, ordered them to kill, to plunder other nations, and enslave people like themselves. What did they get besides lifelong shame? Hearing this, the soldiers immediately turned. They all left the scene, taking their weapon. The white-bearded man was furious, losing his reason. He wanted to shoot Nemo dead, but he himself was shot. He didn't pursue. Instead, he presented a document. It demanded he disband all illegal laborers and abolish all unreasonable taxes. But that was just the beginning. Nemo led everyone to open the East India Company's gold vault. They emptied all assets inside. A wooden box contained a stone. It was identical to one seen in the Atlantis ruins. As everyone prepared to return to the Nautilus, Nemo stopped Lena from following him. Having destroyed the East India Company, the British Empire would surely not forgive them. He didn't want her to live life on the run. Lena felt disheartened hearing this. She half-hated her loved one's self-righteousness. Then she left in disappointment unexpectedly. Her mad fiancé divorced her. He still thought of their incomplete wedding. At this critical moment, the housekeeper unexpectedly reappeared. She used superhuman skills to save Lena again. Both immediately thought of the Nautilus. They felt it was truly where they belonged. Meanwhile, the deposed white-bearded man did not stay idle. He threatened Dunbeth's life. He forced him to operate the warship Dreadnought to block the Nautilus's exit. Nemo and the crew immediately took several cannon shots. Luckily, they had prepared. They reinforced the hull and placed explosives across the exit grate. The enemy realized and ordered fire. Dunbeth rushed to stop him, but was shot dead without hesitation. However, his sacrifice gave the crew enough time. A sky-shattering explosion and giant flames trapped Dreadnought at the port. The others had jumped into the sea earlier. Nemo rescued them and brought them aboard. Lena rushed to the port, only seeing the Nautilus's silhouette fade. She vowed to return to that ship at all costs. In the cabin, he placed the two stones together. They simultaneously glowed in the pouring rain. He seemed to hear Dr. Gustav's call. Could he still be alive? He immediately ordered to set sail, preparing to return to Atlantis' ruins. They didn't know the deserter soldier had vanished. He was now in London. He killed the white-bearded man to repay a life debt. He was a British government agent embedded in the East India Company. He reported the Nautilus's design to his superiors. Unexpectedly, they also had a glowing stone. They planned to build a stronger submarine to hunt Atlantis' treasure. This concludes the movie Nautilus. If you enjoyed it, please like and subscribe.